When we think about the squat as an exercise, we immediately think of one specific execution or variation of it, depending on what you learned and what you experienced. In this video, we want to show you the 5 most common squat variations, the mobility prerequisites needed for a safe and clean squatting technique, and which variation we mainly use in our training and why. Let's get started with the variations first to get a better overview of the squat itself. First, we have the Olympic squat or back squat. This squat is categorized as a high bar squat. The bar is placed on top of the traps and the torso is relatively upright throughout the full motion. The feet are positioned somewhere between straight ahead and externally rotated about 20 degrees and set approximately shoulder width apart. Full range of motion is aimed here, also known as ass to grass squat. The powerlifting style shown here is categorized as a low bar squat. The bar is placed on the rear delts with a very wide foot placement. The hand placement is usually much wider compared to the Olympic squat. The majority of powerlifters aim to go down so that the femur is parallel to the ground, roughly about 90 degrees. The wide squat is a hybrid of both techniques. The stance is wide, the bar is high, and we aim to go full range of motion as good as possible. The stagger stance squat is also a very good variation. It's focused on a unilateral training. A high bar placement, a wider grip for more stability. Foot position of the working leg is the same as in the Olympic squat, and the supporting leg is a little bit behind it, but hip width apart. Our last variation we show you is the cyclist squat. All principles and techniques are the same as for the Olympic squat. The only difference here is the elevation of the heel. This results in an even more upright position of the back. As you can see, we only showed you 5 variations of how a squat can look like. There is no wrong or right. It always depends on your goal and why you do a certain variation. But also what's usually overlooked are your joint mobility prerequisites, which we're now going to show you.
The back squat, like every other movement, sport, and exercise, has its prerequisites. It demands certain joints to move well in a particular range. Let's have a closer look at those prerequisites. First, the ankle. When you look at the ankle in the deepest position of a full range squat, it becomes clear that the ankle needs a decent amount of dorsiflexion for an individual to be comfortable in this squat position. So your ankle needs to be able to get into enough dorsiflexion that the knee can go over the toes, obviously without external support, such as elevation or weightlifting shoes. Secondly, we have the knee. The knee needs to be able to fully extend and flex for a pain-free and comfortable squat. Next, the hip. There are several movements a hip needs to be good at. First, the most obvious, bent-leg hip flexion, and secondly, the not so obvious but equally important hip internal rotation. Better hip internal rotation range and strength allows for a strong, stable, and comfortable squat. The spine is the last joint we want to have a closer look at. A spine consists of around 33 vertebrae. For optimal spinal health, strength, and pain-free movement, you should be able to segment each vertebrae individually and after another from flexion into extension and vice versa. As we stated before, there is no wrong or right way to squat in general as long as the body that's being loaded has the prerequisites for it. Our personal preference is to squat fairly narrow, so Jan's feet are turned out a bit more while mine are more parallel to each other, and we switch between barefoot and lifting shoes. Additionally, we both tuck our elbows under the barbell, which helps us to stabilize our torso and keep it more upright. We also almost always do full range of motion squats. The tempo, weight, and sets and reps vary depending on our training cycle. Both of us have tried and still try different techniques and variations, but have settled for our personal preference most of the time. So even though our squats or squatting techniques look pretty similar, they're definitely not the same, especially our stances are very different from each other. With that said, no squat is the same. Find your personal preference. Just make sure your body has the movement capacity and prerequisites to perform the squat. If you enjoyed this video, then leave us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you want more information, you can visit our website or social media. The links are in the description below.